So welcome to the first in a series of videos for a course in trigonometry. And what I'd like to do at the start here is discuss why anyone would want to study trigonometry. In other words, what's the point? Who cares? So there are, I think, three important uses of trigonometry. And we'll talk about all of them in our course. Now, the first of these is what I will call indirect measurement. So, naturally, in the sciences, we're interested in how the sizes of various things, how big they are. If it's an everyday object, and I want to know how big something is, let's say this book right here, well, I just use a ruler, I put it right up against the book, and I can see, all right, the book is about 9 1/4 inches tall and about 6 inches wide. Okay, but not every measurement task can be handled that way. And a classic example is, okay, you want to figure out the height of a tree. I'm going to just do a very quick little drawing of a little deciduous tree here. Okay, so you want to know how tall this tree is. Well, assuming one, you can't climb to the tippy top, and two, you don't have a measuring tape that will work. I mean, the branches are going to get in the way of coming down here. What you can do is you can measure a horizontal distance and measure the angle of elevation to the top of the tree. In other words, how big is this angle, which will indicate with a theta. So you measure this distance, you measure this angle, which is actually not hard to do. We'll talk about it later in the course. And then using those two things together, you can indirectly figure out how tall that tree is. And there are tons of other applications that we'll talk about. So one big reason for learning trigonometry is indirect measurement. It's a big application. The second major use of trigonometry is to help us model periodic phenomena. One of the overarching themes in mathematics is we use these things called functions to describe the world, basically. Functions allow us to encode relationships between quantities. So let's just imagine something here. Let's say this vertical axis represents temperature, and this is time. Okay, so right here at the origin, the time will be 0. Okay, so let's say that's the start of the year. That's January 1st. And as time goes here, as we go to the right, we'll get further along in the year. And let's say we're talking about the average temperature. Okay, well, at the start of the year, it's January. And up here in the northern hemisphere, in January, it's cold. Okay, so we expect the temperature to be kind of low. As the year goes by, we get into spring, and into summer, we expect things to get warmer. And then we hit fall, we expect it to start to cool down, and now it's winter again, so the temperature is back down there. Now, when the next year comes along, we basically expect this exact cycle to repeat right over there. So that's what I mean when I say periodic phenomena. We're going to get another exact copy of this right over here. And the trig functions, which we'll talk about in this course, are the tools that we use to model these periodic phenomena. And the third important reason to study trigonometry is there are useful algebraic relationships involving the trigonometric functions. Okay, there are useful algebraic relationships involving the trigonometric functions. So, just to give you a quick example of why this might come in handy, an algebraic expression like that is kind of cumbersome and difficult to work with. However, if we do a substitution, let's say sine theta in for x, and we replace x with sine theta, then this expression becomes 1 minus sine squared theta later on in the course we'll learn these identities, these relationships between the trig functions, and we'll understand why 1 minus sine squared theta is equal to cosine squared theta, and this whole thing simplifies quite a bit. Okay, you don't have the square root anymore, basically. So those are the three big reasons for studying trigonometry. Most practical is indirect measurement, then we got modeling periodic phenomena, and then we have the algebraic relations satisfied by the trig function. So that's why we're interested in this, that's why we're going to study this.